From the Bible, we're looking at Joshua chapter 9 and 10. This is what it says. Now Abimelech, son of Jerubbaal, that's Gideon, went to Shechem to see his mother's relatives. He said to them and to his mother's entire extended family, "Tell all the leaders of Shechem this. Why would you want to have 70 men, all Jerubbaal's sons ruling over you when you can have just one ruler? Recall that I am your own flesh and blood." His mother's relatives spoke on his behalf. All the leaders of Shechem reported his proposal. The leaders were drawn to Abimelech. They said, "He is our close relative." They paid him 70 silver shekels out of the temple of Baal Berith. Abimelech then used the metal to hire some lawless, dangerous men as followers. He went to his father's home in Orpha and murdered his half brothers, 70 legitimate sons of Jerubbaal, on one stone. Only Jotham, Jerubbaal's youngest son, escaped because he hid. All the leaders of Shechem and Beth Milo assembled and then went and made Abimelech king by the oak near the pillar in Shechem. When Jotham heard the news, he went and stood at the top of Mount Gerizim. He spoke loudly to the people below, "Listen to me, leaders of Shechem, so that God may listen to you." The trees were determined to go out and choose a king for themselves. And they said to the olive tree, "Be our king." But the olive tree said to them, "I'm not going to stop producing my oil, which is used to honor gods and men, just to sway above other trees." So the trees went to the fig tree. "You come, be our king." But the fig tree said to them, "I'm not going to stop producing my sweet figs, my excellent fruit, just to sway above the other trees." So the trees said to the grapevine, "You come, be our king." But the grapevine said, "I am not going to stop producing my wine, which make gods and men so happy, just to sway above the other trees." So all the trees said to the thorn bush, "You come, be our king." The thorn bush said to the trees, "If you really want to choose me as your king, then come along, find safety under my branches. Otherwise, may fire blaze from the thorn bush and consume the cedars of Lebanon." Now, if you have shown loyalty and integrity when you made Abimelech king, if you have done right to Jerubbaal and his family, if you have properly repaid him, my father fought for you. He risked his life and delivered you from Midian's power. But you've attacked my father's family today. You murdered his 70 legitimate sons on one stone and made Abimelech, the son of a female slave, king over the leaders of Shechem, just because he is your close relative. So, if you have shown loyalty and integrity to Jerubbaal and his family today, then may Abimelech bring you happiness, and may you bring him happiness. But if not, may fire blaze from Abimelech and consume the leaders of Shechem and Beth Milo. May fire also blaze from the leaders of Shechem and Beth Milo and consume Abimelech. And then Jotham ran away to Beer and lived there to escape from Abimelech, his half brother. Abimelech commanded Israel for 3 years. God sent a spirit to stir up hostility between Abimelech and the leaders of Shechem. He made the leaders of Shechem disloyal to Abimelech. He did this so the violent deaths of Jerubbaal's 70 sons might be avenged, and Abimelech, their half-brother, who murdered them, might have to pay for their spilled blood along with the leaders of Shechem who helped him murder them. The leaders of Shechem rebelled against Abimelech by putting bandits in the hills who robbed everyone who traveled on by the road. But Abimelech found out about it. Gaal, son of Ebed, came through Shechem with his brothers. The leaders of Shechem transferred their loyalty to him. Then they went out to the field, harvested their grapes, squeezed the juice, and celebrated. They came to the temple of their God, ate and drank, and cursed Abimelech. Gaal, son of Ebed, said, "Who is Abimelech and who is Shechem, that we should serve him? Is he not the son of Jerubbaal, and is not Zebul the deputy he appointed? Serve the sons of Hamor, the father of Shechem. But why should we serve Abimelech? If only these men were under my command, I would get rid of Abimelech." And he challenged Abimelech, "Muster your army and come out for battle." When Zebul, the city commissioner, heard the words of Gaal, son of Ebed, he was furious. He sent messengers to Abimelech, who was in Arumah, reporting, "Beware, Gaal, son of Ebed, and his brothers are coming to Shechem and inciting the city to rebel against you. Now come up at night with your men and set an ambush in the field outside the city. In the morning, at sunrise, quickly attack the city. When he and the men come out to fight you, do what you can to him." So Abimelech and all his men came up at night and set an ambush outside Shechem. They divided into 4 units. When Gaal, son of Ebed, came out and stood at the entrance of the city's gate, Abimelech and the men got up from their hiding places. Gaal saw the men and said to Zebul, "Look, men are coming down from the hills, tops of the hills." But Zebul said to him, "You're seeing shadows on the hills. It just looks like men." Gaal again said, "Look, men are coming down from the very center of the land. A unit is coming by the way of the oak tree of the diviners." Zebul said to him, Where now are your bragging words? Who is Abimelech that we should serve him? Are these not the men you insulted? Go out and fight them." So Gaal led the leaders of the Shechem out and fought Abimelech. Abimelech chased him, and Gaal ran from him. Many Shechemites fell wounded at the entrance of the gate. Abimelech went back to Arumah. Zebul drove Gaal and his brothers out of Shechem. The next day, the Shechemites came out to the field. When Abimelech heard about it, he took his men and divided them into 3 units and set an ambush in the field. When he saw the people coming out of the city, he attacked them and struck them down. Abimelech and his units attacked and blocked the entrance to the city's gates. 2 units then attacked all the people in the field and struck them down. Abimelech fought against the city all that day. He captured the city and killed the people in it. He leveled the city, and spread salt over it. When all the leaders of the tower of Shechem heard the news, they went to the stronghold of the temple of El Berith. Abimelech heard that all the leaders of the tower of Shechem were in one place, and he and all his men went up to Mount Zalman, and he took an axe in his hand and cut off a tree branch, and he put it on his shoulder and said to his men, "Quickly, do what you have seen me do." So each man also cut a branch and followed Abimelech. They put the branches against the stronghold and set it to fire. All the people of the tower of Shechem died, 1,000 men and women. Abimelech moved on to Thebez. He besieged it and captured it. There was a fortified tower in the center of the city, so that all the men and the women, as well as the city's leaders, ran into it and locked the entrance. Then they went up to the roof of the tower. Abimelech came and attacked the tower. He approached the tower to set fire on it. A woman threw an upper millstone down on his head, shattering his skull. He quickly called the young men who carried his weapons. "Draw your swords and kill me, so that they will not say a woman killed him." So a man stabbed him, and he died. When the Israelites saw that Abimelech was dead, they went home. God repaid Abimelech for the evil he did to his father by murdering his 70 half-brothers. God also repaid the men of Shechem for their evil deeds, the curse spoken by Jotham, son of Jerubbaal, on them. After Abimelech's death, Tola, son of Puah, grandson of Doda from the tribe of Issachar, rose up to deliver Israel. He lived in Shamir in the Ephraimite hill country. He led Israel for 23 years. Then he died and was buried in Shamir. Jair, the Gileadite, rose up after him. He led Israel for 22 years. He had 30 sons who rode on donkeys and possessed 30 cities. To this day, these towns are called Havoth Jair, that they are in the land of Gilead. Jair died and was buried in Kamon. The Israelites did again evil in the Lord's sight. They worshiped the Baals and Ashtars, as well as the gods of Syria, Sidon, Moab, the Ammonites, and the Philistines. They abandoned the Lord and did not worship him. The Lord was furious with Israel and turned them over to the Philistines, the Ammonites, and the Ammonites. They ruthlessly oppressed the Israelites that 18th year. That is all the Israelites living east of the Jordan in the Amorite country in Gilead. The Amorites crossed the Jordan to fight with Judah, Benjamin, and Ephraim. Israel suffered greatly. The Israelites cried out for help to the Lord. We have sinned against you. We have abandoned our God and worshipped the Baals. The Lord said to the Israelites, did I not deliver you from Egypt, the Amorites, the Ammonites, the Philistines, the Sidonians, the Amalek, the Midian, when they oppressed you? You cried out for me to help, and I delivered you from their power. But since you abandoned me and worshipped other gods, I will not deliver you again. Go cry for the help of the gods to whom you have chosen. Let them deliver you from trouble. But the Israelites said to the Lord, we have sinned. You do to us as you see fit, but deliver us today. They threw away the foreign gods they held and worshiped the Lord. Finally, the Lord grew tired of seeing Israel suffer so much. The Ammonites assembled at the camp of Gilead. The Israelites gathered together at Mizpah. The leaders of Gilead said to one another, who is willing to lead the charge against the Ammonites? He will become a leader of all who live in Gilead. So in these two chapters, what we see that, as I've said before, the Judges was a time where people did what they thought was right. They didn't really listen to God. They worshiped other gods. And we see, you have Gideon's family, that they were treated poorly by the people of Shechem. They paid to hire people for Abimelech to murder all of his half brothers. And because of that, both they and Abimelech are punished. But the people continue to do the wrong thing. There are people who come up and who liberate the people of Israel and guide them in the right path for a time. But when they die, if no one else is raised up, the people revert to their old ways. And they do this here. They revert to their own ways. And because of that, they're oppressed because God removes his blessing from them. We see this over and over in the book of Judges. But honestly, if we're really honest, we see it in history. It's a story of humanity, that how we continue to rebel against God until we need help. And then maybe we call on his name. And the question is, are we as followers of Jesus, do we fall into that same category? Or do we stay faithful? And do we stay faithful not just when it's easy, but even when it's hard? The people of Israel, when things were easy, they got complacent and they forgot God. We live in a time that it's easy to get complacent and forget about what's important, when we have so many voices speaking to us about these are the things we should be concerned about. But if we are a follower of Jesus, Jesus tells us to seek first the kingdom. Keep that important as a priority. And when we do that, those other things that we're worried about, they aren't going to matter as much. Things will fall into place. Doesn't mean it will be easy, but we will be taken care of. I hope that you don't fall into the trap that the people of Israel did, that they would remember God only when things are really bad, just long enough for him to save them, and then revert to their own ways. Because they did that, it resulted in more and more pain and suffering for them, because God withdrew his blessing and people who were more powerful could come in and hurt them. May we be a people who are faithful in the meantime and faithful in the mean times. Hope you guys are doing well. Have a wonderful day.